I started my career with Microsoft as basically a software developer with them. I think, during like COVID time, since like everything became, like remote work. So I thought, okay, let me try something new. So I joined the FinTech world. I got this opportunity with the, like Tonik Bank in Philippines to lead their pretty much like everything in data.
Yeah.
One of the reason I joined Tonik Bank also because the vision of our CEO, Greg. So when Greg and I were, like exploring this like opportunity, and we, like instantly kind of like connected, it's like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And the mission statement is, to make the finance inclusive.
Welcome to the Bank Tellers. My name's Zach Anderson Pettet, VP FinTech Strategy here at Money 2020. And we are here for Bank Tellers to see what the banks have to tell us. We're coming up with like random new taglines every week, and I guess that's the one for today. So Biswa, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How's Money 2020 treating you so far?
Pretty good. I think this is actually my first time to come to this event, and so far it has been amazing. It's really good energy and really fantastic crowd.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So take us back before we get to Tonik and kind of some of the stuff that you're working on today, and how you reached where you are. Who were you before you reached where you are today? Let's go back even a little, we don't have to go all the way back into your childhood, but kind of what got you into finance? Like, and if that, does go back to your childhood where you pinched two pennies together and it turned into something magical. But kind of how'd you get involved in this world? What did you study? What were you interested in? Just kind of tell us more about you and kind of how you came into this space.
Sure. So first of all, I'm actually not a traditional banker. I'm kind of, like accidental banker, you can call me. Yeah.
Amongst friends?
Yeah. So, in my past life, I used to be basically a technologist. I started my career with Microsoft as basically a software developer with them.
You studied computer science?
Yes, in my undergrad. And then, I got attracted into, like analytics and data. Did my master's from US. I went to Northwestern University. I did their Master of Science in Analytics. And after that, I left the traditional, the FANG or the big techs. I joined management consulting. So I was based in PwC in their Chicago office. I was doing a lot of, like analytics in the healthcare sector. So a lot of payer analytics, kind of provider analytics, building risk models for the churn, patient fraud and abuse, all of that.
Yeah. What pulled you over there? I would imagine the FANG companies, probably the biweekly pay wasn't low. So, there must have been something mission driven, or, I imagine the money wasn't too low at the next place, but what created that interest to shift that direction? So
I think, it's not definitely about the pay. I think the pay was like decent in both the sides.
Sure.
But really, what drove it that I wanted to, be closer to the business side of things. And during my master's course, I actually took a few like courses from the Kellogg School of Business. So I became, very intrigued by the world of, like consulting, that how I can leverage data and analytics to solve the real business problems.
Yeah.
Not to say that the big techs are not doing that, but it's more like applying, like application of those data and the tools to solve the end client problems. So I think that to me was a very transformative experience, to be honest. And I started thinking not just a pure technologist, but, started thinking as a tech-driven, business decision maker. So
that's a big shift.
Yeah, that's a.
How long do you feel like it took you to make that shift from pure evangelical technologist into maybe, I don't know, you phrased it well, but maybe a little more like rational business oriented, but technology driven? Like, was that or did one thing hit you where you were like, I'm too far on this side, I got to get more in the middle?
I think I still sometimes struggle to balance, because I still, like inside me, I'm very techie, but also I get super excited when there is a business problem that comes, and I able to solve it from the like real angle. But I think the shift happened maybe in the first 2 years in the job, once you sort of reach the like engagement manager level. So you start actually owning the problem, owning the engagement, you are managing the client, managing your team, like all of that. So I think that was the probably, like inflection point that you sort of have that, kind of centrifugal force to come out of the tech fully, but also to, apply the tech on the real world business problem. So yeah, I mean, that's the transition. And after that, what happened, I moved to Singapore. I was with Oliver Wyman in their, like Singapore office. So with that move, what really happened from healthcare analytics, I shifted towards finance world because, like Oliver Wyman is very strong in finance and risk. So I started working with the banks across kind of, banks in Thailand, KL, like all over this kind of Southeast Asia.
Sure.
So that gave me a very good 360 degree, the front row view of how I can apply the data analytics in the fintech and the finance world. And then I think during the COVID time, I know you told me that this is not a Joe Rogan thing, and let's not talk
I literally did say let's not say COVID, but in this case, you're allowed. I'll allow it. Carry on.
Yeah. So I think, during like COVID time, since like everything became, like remote work. So I thought, okay, let me try something new. So I joined the fintech world. So I joined a fintech company based in Indonesia. It's called Credivo. I was basically their director of data science for about 4+ years.
Okay.
And then, I got, got this opportunity with the, like Tonik Bank in Philippines to lead their pretty much like everything in data.
Yeah.
So that's what I have been doing since last 10, 11 months.
Was that a hard decision? Was that a pretty easy, like, oh my God, I get to go build all these new things from maybe not scratch, but like maybe a little bit more of a blank canvas? What was so exciting about that shift for you? Yeah, so I think to me, it was actually a good transition because, my management consulting kind of prepared me how to solve the problems in, a fast-paced kind of, startup or late-stage startup world, and to, stay in the course, how to like execute fast, not just, kind of making slides. So I think that transition like already, like happened in my Credivo days. Building?
Yeah, building things, So, I think to all kind of fairness, I think these days a lot of the management consulting companies have moved towards the building side of things, right? Yeah. Also, anyways,
especially with AI, it seems like that's kind of required. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, so my transition is more like owning the piece. So in Credivo, I was basically focusing a lot on the BNPL side, on the like international kind of business. We had an like expansion in Vietnam, Thailand, etc. So here in Tonik Bank, it is primarily focusing on the Philippines market. But the good thing is, it's like owning the entire thing and really be the number one bank, which is doing the like lending in the very profitable way. I think we're like only bank. So to me, that mandate and the challenge that came with it, it's like really exciting to me.
Yeah, and Tonik Bank, I guess I should call it, not just Tonik, but was the first digitally licensed bank in the Philippines, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's especially interesting with what you just said. And I'm just going to go on a little tangent here. So first digital bank chartered in the Philippines. Then you go from there, you build a deposit business. You have way less overhead, employees, branches, things along those lines.
Correct.
And you also are functioning digitally based on a tech stack that actually allows you to underwrite, automate, move quickly, and make good decisions. It seems very logical that you would be one of the few banks that actually is building a very robust loan business. And ironically, coming from a U.S. citizen, it's like one of the places where fintech companies have done not much. Like there's a lot of deposit holding and there's not a lot of like really credit access that is not somewhat predatory. That makes sense when you think about that way.
Yeah. And I think, for example, first of all, we don't have any branches. We are like fully like 100%.
Yeah.
Like
that was one of the things I found. Yeah. It seems like that would say, I mean,
Yeah.
With the, I'm sure that the number of engineers and things along those lines benefit from the lack of branch investment.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think, and you were, like absolutely right. I think in Philippines, we have it's a very interesting market. And I think every market in the Southeast Asia, they have their sort of unique kind of flavor, right? Mm-hmm. If you go in like Indonesia, they are like, there is a bit of like, like religion angle, like about loan and like lending. Mm-hmm. In Philippines also, there are a lot of people who are actually, like underbanked. Mm-hmm. I think there are approximately 70% of their entire like adult population is actually underbanked.
That number still staggers me. Ian Fong, our head of content here, VP of content now, shared that with me, and it blows my mind. And it's not a popular thing for me to say on a podcast where most the 50% or a little bit more of the listeners are American, but good Lord, are the problems on this side of the world more exciting and interesting and like helpful to humanity to solve, right? Like putting together two different crypto coins that lead to a third crypto coin that somehow Trump decides matters or whatever. It's like, that is one thing. And then pulling people out of poverty is a very different conversation. So I don't know. If I were you, I'd be jumping out of bed every morning on that side of things, because I would imagine that would be a mission that would drive very significantly.
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the reason I joined Tonik Bank also because the vision of our CEO, Greg, I mean, he's basically a, serial entrepreneur. I think this is probably his third or fourth company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I kind of...
Always in FinTech, or is this his first?
Yeah, so for Greg, so he's basically an Ukrainian American. So his first company was Platinum Bank in Ukraine.
Okay.
And then in this region, he had, like Asia Credit. So he's... you can say he's more or less kind of a veteran in this, like lending space.
Yeah.
And then also he started a company, co-started a company called... Credo Labs, so which is using alternate data based on your phone devices.
Wow.
And to
predict. It's a very natural next step for him to do. This isn't all. This is like kind of if you look in the rear view, this is the very natural next step. Okay,
yeah,
makes sense, and also speaks very clearly to why you would have the digital native.
Correct.
All of that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So when Greg and I were, like exploring this like opportunity, and we, like instantly kind of like connected, it's like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I totally understand what you're doing. And he's like, okay, Biswa, I totally understand what you have been doing so far. Why don't you come join me and, let's build this thing, like together. So that's what, like we have been doing. And the mission statement is, to make the finance, inclusive, right? Mm-hmm. To make sure that people who do not have access to banks or who do not have, like access to credit, we are able to deliver the credit, to whom the traditional bank would not.
Yeah.
So, to me, I think, that's a fairly, good thing to do. It's a good use of the technology and the data.
Yeah. And it's not, I would imagine, let me not make the blanket statement. Let me phrase it as a question. I would imagine it's not because these people are necessarily bad lending risks. It's a matter of thin credit file, as we would say in the US.
Exactly.
Lack of payment, but very cash-based economy, hard to things along those lines. And I imagine you all have developed some sort of unique underwriting process or whatever it is that actually allows you to do that in a way that is probably much better than our FICO.
I mean, if you want to talk about the, like credit bureau, I think the penetration of the good quality of bureau information, especially in countries like Philippines, it's around 30% or even less.
Yeah. So 30% I was kind of surprised you even started that high.
Yeah. So I think, good quality. I mean, thick file clients are, like even less.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what that really means that you have to leverage a lot of, like alternate data, your telco data, your, like utility data, your kind of like device information, your in-app behavior.
Literally anything else. It seems like some of the examples I've seen in terms of the alternate data makes sense after I think it through for a minute, because sometimes I'm just so shocked that like you mentioned mobile phones, and one of the more wild ones I've heard is how charged your phone stays actually makes an impact on what kind of credit risk you are.
Yeah.
So it seems like it seems like there are some key ones, and then it seems like that long tail is not short, but also very worth taking into account.
Absolutely. So I think I oftentimes, like jokingly say that these days your phone knows a lot more about you than your spouse or your best friend.
Yeah.
And that
or
is
maybe you.
true. Like exactly.
Yeah.
So I think your behavior, your charging patterns, your, like angle at which you are mostly, like keeping your phone, a lot of the things actually tell a lot of information about your personality, about your kind of behavior. And maybe if you do your like analytics right, some of that you can extract to, predict your, kind of financial risk, your health risk, everything. So I think it is how you use that data and how you kind of like harness it. Yeah.
You said data. I got to ask the next question. And granted, basically, we're talking about emerging markets. We're talking about a lot of like, agents, things along those lines.
Yeah.
AI. Got to bring it up.
Yep.
How are you thinking about it? Are you implementing it? Is it a thing from on high that we have to do it? Is it if we find a use case, we'll apply it? Just generally, how are you all kind of thinking about the AI side of things?
Yeah, I think let me put a differentiation. I think yeah. So basically, there have been this traditional AI before this all generative AI.
Yeah, we like to act as if AI happened when ChatGPT started and not in the 50s. Yeah.
Exactly.
Stop with the history. People don't need to know the actual history of this. They just need to know the headlines that Twitter gives them because that's what's accurate.
Yeah. So I think kind of. Our traditional AI, which is our, like credit risk models, right?
Yeah.
So it empowers our, like risk model. So our traditional AI is basically your, kind of traditional like ML models, right? Which is, your like traditional deep learning, your like regression model, all of that.
Yep.
So that is still there. I mean, that has always been there, and that primarily empowers our credit risk scorecards, our, kind of like hyper personalization, all of that. With respect to the generative AI, the, like LLM use cases, the primary use cases are of two main areas, like, like as of now, I think most of the banks, and this is coming from an like experience, both as an advisor as well as, a builder. I think most of the cases you try to reduce your like operation cost, the cost of service, and to make it available for kind of 24/7.
Sure.
If you use it, like
Klarna style.
Yeah. Your like robocalls, your call center, call quality audit, like all of that, right? Like auto email responder, like all of that.
Yep.
The other part is how can you boost your kind of productivity? So in our bank in Tonik, what we are doing is that we are encouraging actually every single department, not just, ops and growth marketing, but even our tech teams to basically, have their own personal, like AI assistant. So most of the tasks that they usually do, they can create their own kind of personal bots. And that actually is improving everyone's kind of productivity, right? So for example, if you are doing a simple workflow that typically takes you about one full day to do, those kind of things you can now do it under 10 minutes. So not maybe, like everything. And I think in this aspect, we have to be very cautious about what data that we can or cannot upload.
Yeah.
But broadly speaking, we have achieved a fair bit of kind of productivity gain across the departments. So these are the two primary ways that we are using the Gen AI. I think in my experience, Gen AI is still quite a bit far behind in terms of building the risk scorecards and like automate it. Because in order to do that, you have to upload your kind of client's PII data and like, like all these other things, which I think it is not there yet.
Well, I think because we talk about AI so much, we do a terrible job of distincting between predictive AI and generative AI.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And I think that's basically what you're describing is
yes.
Predictive AI is one thing. It's based on machine learning. It's nowhere near as complex. Well, it's complex, but it's not 6,000 layers of neural networks that are eventually going to lead to AGI, right? It's just going to tell you if somebody's a good lending risk in a non-black box foundation.
Yes.
Right?
And this is actually important for banks like us, right? So any like regulated entity, you have to build your ML models, which are explainable. So I call our models as kind of a glass box model. So it is still enough, like complicated. It still have a lot of layers in it, but it should be, explainable to your end users. I mean, not like end user per se, but your like
regulators
auditors and like regulators.
As long as the end consumers get the money, like,
they
care about something, but they got the money.
Yeah. maybe if you want to show their, like risk scorecard, they get a bit more,
Sure.
kind of like confident about it.
Yeah.
I think some of these like companies are actually, like doing so. But I think more or less we need to also, like audit our own models in a way that our risk team, our, like compliance team, they also understand what our data team has built.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we build it in that way.
I have to end on my final question, which is, you've done, as I said, a lot of fascinating things in your life. You live in a very kind of interesting spot between even more interesting spots. You're like the hub to many interesting spokes. I'm curious if someone wanted to get generally kind of in your shoes or head the direction in their career that you have generally headed. Any advice, any key things that you would kind of impart to the younger generation if they were looking to head that direction or run the other way?
Yeah. So I think I can share what I have learned a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, at least in this fintech and data. So I basically, like have been kind of like operating in that intersection.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important to have the, discipline of a banker and the curiosity of a technologist. So
this is such a good way to put that.
Yeah, this is very important because I think one of the, like advice that I got so I think the Steve Jobs famous speech, right? I was still in my pre-final year in my undergrad, that stay hungry, stay foolish. I think that is so much true, more so in this, like day and age. It's very hard to know everything, and there are tools which can, guide you.
Yeah.
But you need to know what you need to know. Right. So I think that is very important. And in this aspect, I think if you stay, curious about what's happening around you, and you don't assume the place that, okay, I know everything, but you want to try to, like experiment what works, what doesn't. I think that will take you a long way, in my opinion. So yeah. That would be my advice.
That is beautiful. Great spot to stop. I was just looking, I think we're going to have to do a follow-up either a year from now from here, or if we can get you over to one of the other shows, or next time over in Thailand, we need to see what's going on, or Singapore, or wherever, somewhere close here, and do a follow-up. It's been a true pleasure. Thank you, Biswa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Awesome.